are you getting by in this economy? Believe it or not, a lot of people are going through it, especially because of the situation of the country. And you might think it's just in Nigeria. It's not just in Nigeria. When we come back from the short break, we'll get a jump into the conversation. Stay tuned. So yesterday morning, I got awoken by a curse. So if you guys remember the week I talked about demolition in my estate, if you remember vividly, I said that a couple of persons had to come into my estate to drop off their belongings. And one particular woman, the house was particularly big, which again, I would say that if you are building such a house in an unregistered land property, why are you doing that? But you know, a lot of persons around here did the same thing. They did not acquire proper land documentations and then went ahead and built proper structures. Now, for this particular woman, I think the guys who were demolishing were kind enough to give her enough time, because I think maybe the person who sold the land to them, or the house even, confused her or deceived her by telling her that they had proper documentation. Because whilst everybody else were busy removing their, what's it called now, their roofings, doors, and other metal things in the house, she was very comfortable in her place up until the guys came with their, what do you call that thing, bulldozer or tractor, I don't know. And she had to sharply ask guys to move things for her. So she, alongside other families that were affected, moved their belongings into the compound. Now, to safeguard her belongings, she used a tarpaulin to cover it. And I know that her sons came sometime during the month, maybe beginning of the month, to move some of the belongings. Now, those that were not able to move, they had used tarpaulin to cover it and then wrap it. Now, in the process of removing her items, I think she removed about 100 and something towels. She came yesterday morning, and whilst I was sleeping, she was raining curses on the person. And I know that, like I had said again, that during that demolition period, a lot of these house guys that do picking stuff, can't remember what they're called right now, they were stealing and dragging people's properties with them. Now, this one was baffling because it was in my estate, meaning that no outside person came to steal it. If an outside person came to steal it, it definitely would be one of the workers that somebody brought in here. And honestly, I felt bad. At the same time, I was like, oh, if now so course they follow people, then Nigerian leaders, the kind of courses that people would have mounted on their head would be enough up until their 7th generations. But yo, a lot of things are happening. I get that, like, people are suffering, nothing is moving on right as we hoped. But yo, don't go and say the wrong person's things though, so that if you've seen Apollonia, I can't remember the title of the movie. It used to be an olden days movie where the Reverend sister was a klepto and she went to steal from, I think, a herbalist or something, and she ended up with elephantiasis. Don't go and steal from the wrong person, you know. Times are hard, times are hard. If you steal from the wrong person, the courses that will follow you. Funny story is, you will even end up forgetting where that particular course is from. So please, I beg us, don't steal. Now, I also found out that a lot of companies are retrenching. If you don't know it now. I know that, okay, so a couple of persons were going to eat me raw because I said that 150k is big money in this economy. Now, I know in my right senses that 150k for me as a single person is not enough. I've been complaining this year, especially since February, that I have been living from hand to mouth, and I'm I'm not earning 150k, but like I've been complaining. So as the salary is coming in, you already have a budget where this money is going to. And this one is not like you are borrowing money or you are loaning money. As the salary is entering your account, you're already saying, oh, this is for this is for foodstuff, this is for data, this is for water bill, this is for electricity, this is for foodstuff, and this is for family, you know, and all of that. So by the time your salary comes in, you already know that what is probably left for you is 30K. So you have to find how to manage yourself. But now, I made that statement because one of the podcasters that I listened to had said that, people are delusional with the idea that 150K is no money. But if you think about it critically, and I know that times are hard now, especially because if I was complaining last year and I was complaining in February, and now we're in August where everything has gone from fairly good to terrible. And this is because of the removal of the fuel subsidy, as well as the devaluation of Naira and all of that, which, if you're living in Nigeria, you cannot tell me that you're not affected by this. Whether you have a car or you don't have a car, you are going to transport to work, aren't you? So I get the idea that everybody were trying to choke me for saying that 150K is big money. Now the idea is, how many companies in Nigeria pay people 150,000 naira after removal of taxes? Even if 150 is safe, some people still don't pay up to that 150 before removal of taxes and pension, and even maybe HMO or whatever. Now, if you're confidently earning 150 in this era, I know that it's shit money. Like I say it again and again, I know that money is not, it doesn't solve jack. I am telling you that I am earning, but it's still not enough for the month. It is still not. By the time you finish taking out everything, if somebody asks you for money, if I don't call that person a wicked person, I will probably say it in my mind, because I'm like, if you know me and you know the amount of responsibilities that I have, you'll not be asking me for this 2K you're asking me for. So now times are hard for everybody, but I think it's carelessness to have a job that is paying you between 150 to 180K, and you're treating it as though you can do without a job. Again, I'm saying it, companies are retrenching, and it is not because they hate you. Yes, they may be wicked, because anything that happens badly to us is seen as a sign of wickedness, which it is. If I was fired from my job, I would also say my company is wicked for not giving me ample time to prepare or anything. You're just laying people off. But at the same time, if you're thinking about it, you'd be like, but wait, how are companies? When I was saying that this guy was dashing people money, your president was dashing people money, and he was saying that workers are going to be paid double salary and blah blah blah. My question at that time was, what is the incentive that is being given to private firms? How many percentage of Nigerians are employed by the government? So if you're putting a policy in place that doesn't affect more than 10%, then what exactly is your goal? If you're increasing electricity tariff, you're also increasing, removing fuel subsidy, meaning that every other thing is going to shoot up, right? How do you expect that private companies are going to cope in this economy? So definitely people are going to be retrenching. So what I'm telling you guys today is, if you have a job that is paying you enough, I know that money can never be enough. As far as I'm concerned, money can never be enough. I was saying last week that some of us are well employed. Somebody was like, what do you mean by well employed? You are living from... I said, yes, I get it. But it is stupidity to treat the one that you have right now as nothing when you don't have hope for another one. So I'm really sorry to a couple of persons that were let go from companies this past week. I was also speaking to one of my friends in the US, and he was complaining of the same thing, that in US now, companies are retrenching, especially IT guys who AI can now do their job. And he was saying that one of his other friends in Canada called him that he was going to come to US, and the same thing had happened in Canada. So this is not just a Nigerian situation. A lot of jobs are crashing. A lot of companies are crashing, basically now in Nigeria, because of the economy. So please, if you have something that is paying you okay, I mean okay, not the one that you're paying 75,000 naira and you're supposed to use 30K for transport fare in the month. I don't know how you're supposed to cope with that, because that does not even include your feeding. Talk more of if you are like me, who is the firstborn, you still have to find a way to send money home at the end of the month. So if you have any job right now, please hold it as tightly as you can. Hold it as tightly as you can. Because trust me, if you're laid off from your job, no other companies is looking to take in more people. So please, that is my 1 cent advice for you. Now, on another news, for the 4 ministers and the wiki were sworn in. Is that the word? Is that the language for it? Yes, inaugurated. Yes, that's the word for it. Ministers were inaugurated, and Wike is our minister in Abuja. Now, when I saw the clips, I did not watch the full thing. So when I saw the clips where he was saying, "Oh, sorry, if you are building where you're supposed to build, it's gonna go down." It was very funny, which I know that if you have been following the guy from Port Harcourt, you will know that the guy is a worker. He does his work and whatnot, but Mr. Wike, sir, this is the FCT. As I keep saying that the reason why we have a lot of this demolition going on right now is because the FCDA or the minister have not actually been doing what they are supposed to do. If you're bringing down an entire village, for the sake of, these places are not properly structured, this is not befitting for the FCT, which it should be, right? You're bringing these buildings and structures down, and you don't have a plan for what you're going to do for years to come. It doesn't solve any problem, because in a year or two, people are going to go back to those same lands and erect structures there. It's something that cannot be helped. People are suffering. People don't have good jobs. There are no companies. How many companies are even in Abuja to hire in the first place, right? And now you want to establish Abuja as it should be, as a country's capital, and you're bringing out places that common men and women live. I think that it would be fair to put a subsidized housing for low-income families, so it will be easier for them to take accommodations in such places. Because, to be frank with you, a lot of the places that are okay to live in are very, very expensive for low-income earners. I mean, I earn what I earn, and it's still hard to pay 400k or 500k at the end of the year. Because if you do your right calculation, we always say that your what's it called now? Your rent should not be more than 3 months. It should not be more than your accumulated salary for 3 months. But let's be frank, how many people again earn as much? So even if my salary in 3 months it just doesn't make sense financially to carry that amount of money and dump it for housing. You're paying 500k in a year for housing. What about the other responsibilities? So how I want to become this millionaire? Is it by, in a year you are removing 500k for rent? That one step aside, though, you still have to maintain the house and take care of shit. So please, if you guys can seriously look into subsidized housing for low income earners, it will really mean a lot. Because if you go to Lugbe, you go to Kachingoro, and a few of other places that were demolished, the people that live there are people who are not earning so much. Now you've taken these places away from them, you've displaced people. Where do you want them to go to? They should go back to their village. Okay, I don't know. Maybe I should go back to my village, because as it is now, I am also going to be changing my apartment next year. So if right now the situation of the country is this bad, I don't even want to imagine what it's going to look like come 2024. So please, Mr. Rikisa, as you're trying to demolish places, you're trying to do buildings that are befitting for Abuja as the country's capital, also look into the people that have been living in these places. How will they move on from this? And also, please, your president, people should beg him to look into private firms, because a lot of companies are going to be retrenching. A couple of persons also told me their companies laid off people far back as May. So please, if you have a job right now, treat it well, and also be on the lookout for other jobs. Because to be fair, job security, the company cannot afford to pay you. They will not keep you around. Would you rather they owe you for 6 months than, just letting you go? And so it's sad, honestly. But if you have a job, hold it tight. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is, oh yes, still on Wiki. I remember saying sometime last year or earlier this year that we have Agberos now in Abuja. This is even prior to this president coming into power. When you go to parks in Area 1, Bega is becoming, or Kubwa, right? I know I've had experiences in these three places. You would find that there are petty thieves all around the FCT. Is either when you're trying to enter a vehicle, they are trying to snatch your bag from you, or they are trying to do one form of nonsense or the other. So please, for a capital, I feel like these things should not even be happening. I think that security should be one of the things that you should be looking into. You cannot be living in the FCT and also be worried as if you're living in Lagos, right? We are not even that populated. So I don't know where these guys are coming from. I don't know what effrontery they are having to keep doing these things. And also the level of one chance vehicles are also getting very rampant. Last week, one of my neighbors was almost kidnapped, or I don't know, maimed or whatever. I don't know. But please, FCT minister, sir, these are the things you should be looking into. The security, the housing issue, and also what's the other thing I'm forgetting? Yeah, a lot of places are dark in Abuja. If you go out in the night, it's not how it used to be. At least there was a time that we used to have a lot of street lights. Now there are places you go to, even on major roads, that these things are not even working. And then the issue of traffic, I don't even understand how many are we in this Abuja that we're having traffic problem, because it's not like we are overpopulated in Abuja. In short, in his words, there are a lot of green areas in Abuja which needs to be structured, right? But like, why is Abuja dark? One, why are there petty thieves in Abuja? And then kidnappers and one chance people. You guys need to take a very big look into it. If it is the Federal Capital Territory we're talking about, let people be able to feel at peace. And let's just have structures that is befitting. Don't demolish places without thinking of how to develop them for years to come. Because people who are suffering, they don't have a job. They're still going to go back to those places to erect structures. So please look into that. What again? Oh yes, and okay. Before the final thing, I know that I had said in last episode that because of the situation of the country, a lot of people are looking for diabolic means to, not diabolic, but other means to make money. In your quest for looking for other means to make money, please don't get into trouble. Don't do something that will set you back 5 years. Please, I beg you. The same way I'm even talking about people that are jack buying. If you're jack buying and your jack buying is not legitimate, please don't waste your time. Going outside the country is not a guaranteed success. The outside of the country you are going to also doesn't mean that you're going to get a job, especially if you're not going through study route and you're looking to, and you don't have a job prior to relocating. Please, I beg you, in our quest for greener pastures, in our quest to have a good life, don't go and do something that would set you back 5 years or several years, because if you make that one mistake, it's going to take you a while to get back on track. So please, I beg you guys, if it is jack buying without proper documentation, if it is, don't risk your life by going with a deal or signing a deal to get to another person's country without proper documentation. That's that on that. Lastly, I want to use this medium to advise everyone, but especially ladies, to make it a routine to check your bodies. Our body go through so much hormonal changes that we may rule off some things as just, oh, it's normal. Oh, it's normal. Nothing is going on. I'm fine. I'll be okay. But only for you to find out a while down the line that that thing that is somewhere on your breast is not as normal as you thought it was, or only to find out that maybe the rash you're having on your armpits or on your arm or on your is a dry thin scalp on a dry patch on your scalp is not as normal as you thought it was. So please, I beg us, especially ladies, if you find anything at all unusual about your body, please make it a point of duty to visit the hospital. And I know. Sometimes you may be feeling okay and you walk into a hospital and they'll find something. No matter how okay you are feeling, no matter how fine you think you are, if you go for a checkup, they must find something. But I think it's better to find something early enough than to find something and become lackadaisical. And I know that hospitals in Abuja, I live here, so I'm going to be talking about it, are not particularly cheap. Except to go to general, and even with general, there are still some of these tests you must run with full payment. You get what I mean? Although if you compare it to private organizations, it's still a lot better. So please, I beg you, try to be going for checkup. These things that we think are normal: chest pain, high blood pressure, low sugar level, what again? Infections, oh, you'll be having stomach pain for a very long time, it's not going away, back pain, waist pain, all of these things. Please make it a point of duty to always check. And again, please check your breasts, ladies and men. Ladies especially, it is very hard or difficult it is easy to rule out something as, oh no, it's normal, forgetting that again, it is not normal. So please check your breasts, clockwise, anti-clockwise, check both, ensure that any slight changes that you notice, please talk to someone, talk to a physician or go to a hospital. So yeah, that's all I have for you guys this week. Thank you so much for always watching my show. Thank you to those who are following me on Spotify. If you are not following me on Spotify, please, I beg you, follow on Spotify and also watch and subscribe on YouTube. See you next week. Bye-bye.